What if Utah's true wonders aren't in your Instagram feed? Once swallowed by an ancient ocean, now cracked open by time, its landscapes tell a story of fire, wind and water shaping stone into towering cliffs and endless deserts. For centuries, people have come here searching for something. Freedom, survival, adventure. Indigenous tribes lived off its land long before pioneers braved its harsh deserts. Today, explorers still arrive, drawn by a landscape that refuses to be tamed. Join me, and I'll show you the hidden wonders of Utah, a state that surprises even those who think they know it well. The Bonneville salt flats are a vast expanse of densely packed salt crust, stretching approximately 64,000 acres. The environment results from Lake Bonneville, a prehistoric body of water that once covered much of the region, but gradually evaporated as the climate changed. This unique natural formation is famous for its use as a world-famous speedway, since the flat, hard surface and the lack of obstructions make it an ideal setting. Since the early 20th century, it has been a prime location for land speed record attempts, with the first official record being set in 1914, when Teddy Tetzlaff reached 142.85 miles per hour. Over the years, many racers have returned to push the limits, with some exceeding 745 miles per hour in specially designed vehicles. Beyond racing, the area has been used for scientific research, military testing, and film productions such as Independence Day and Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. The Onaqui Mountains Herd Management Area is considered to be the region home to Utah's iconic wild horses, and its landscape makes it suitable for the horses to thrive. These free-roaming animals, often referred to as mustangs, are descendants of horses brought to the region over centuries. The area supports one of the most recognisable herds, with numbers typically managed between 120 and 210 horses to maintain ecological balance. Although free, the horses are still closely monitored through management plans to ensure sustainable use of the land, which involves periodic roundups to prevent overpopulation and resource depletion. The animals are then made available for adoption or transferred to long-term holding facilities. Historically, wild horses have played a significant role in local ecosystems and cultural development, linking to past agricultural and exploration eras when they were essential for transportation and labour. The Santa Clara volcano is an extinct volcanic cinder cone located near St. George. It last erupted approximately 20,000 to 30,000 years ago, leaving behind lava flows that are still visible in the area. The dark basaltic rock stretches across the landscape, showing clear evidence of the volcanic activity that once shaped the region. Cinder cones like Santa Clara form when gas-rich magma erupts, throwing fragments into the air that solidify and accumulate around the vent, which then builds the cone-shaped structure over time. Arches National Park is the world's largest concentration of natural sandstone arches, home to over 2,000 documented formations. These formations are primarily composed of Entrada sandstone, shaped by the effects of water, wind and temperature changes. The delicate arch, standing over 52 feet high, is a freestanding arch formed as softer rock eroded away. It has become a symbol of Utah due to its unique and recognizable shape, as well as its cultural and historical significance. Beyond its geological importance, ancient petroglyphs found nearby suggest that indigenous peoples lived in and interacted with the area for thousands of years. Today, the arch is featured prominently on Utah's license plates and state tourism materials, serving as a symbol of exploration and the state's connection to the natural world. The double arch consists of two massive interconnected arches, formed by water seeping into the rock that gradually carved out the structure from below. The larger of the two spans approximately 144 feet, making it one of the park's largest and widest formations. Interestingly, the arch was featured in the opening scenes of the 1989 film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, serving as the backdrop for a sequence depicting Indiana Jones's youth. The turret arch features a central arch with a smaller circular opening to the side, giving it a distinct castle-like appearance and its name. It is part of the windows section, an area filled with several prominent formations clustered together. Geologically speaking, the turret arch is relatively young compared to other formations in the park, as its openings are still being progressively shaped. Glen Canyon National Recreation Area covers more than 1.25 million acres, featuring a landscape shaped by the flow of the Colorado River over millions of years. It was established to protect the region's natural and cultural resources while providing opportunities for outdoor activities such as boating, hiking, and fishing. The region is known for its deep canyons, towering sandstone formations, and extensive waterways, with the dam of the same name as a central feature. Glen Canyon Dam is a massive concrete dam that was constructed in the 1950s and 1960s as part of the Colorado River Storage Project. Stretching 60 feet across, it is one of the largest concrete arch dams in the world. Its primary purpose is to regulate water flow, store water for surrounding regions, and generate hydroelectric power. Initially, the dam created controversy during its construction, as it altered the natural flow of the river and submerged thousands of archaeological and geological sites. However, it also provided water security for millions of people and became a major source of renewable energy. The dam holds back the waters of the Colorado River, forming Lake Powell, one of the largest man-made reservoirs. Lake Powell spans 186 miles and contains more than 1,900 miles of shoreline when full, which is more than the US West Coast. The lake formed as the canyon filled with water after the completion of Glen Canyon Dam, taking nearly 17 years to reach capacity. It was named after John Wesley Powell, a geologist and explorer who led the first recorded expedition through the Grand Canyon and the Colorado River in 1869. Powell's journey helped map the river system and provided some of the earliest scientific observations of the region. The lake is often visited for its stunning red rock canyon views, with most of the formations primarily made of Navajo sandstone, which was deposited around 190 million years ago during the Jurassic period. One of the key areas along the lake is Wahweap Bay, located near the southern end. It serves as a major access point, featuring marinas, boat ramps and campgrounds. The bay is also a major hub for tourism, offering rentals and guided tours to explore the lake's remote sections. However, due to fluctuating water levels, the shoreline of Wahweap Bay has changed significantly over time, affecting accessibility and the surrounding ecosystem. Zion National Park features towering sandstone cliffs, deep canyons, and a range of ecosystems. The region has been home to indigenous peoples for at least 8,000 years, including the ancestral Puebloans and southern Paiutes. In fact, the park was originally called Mukuntuap National Monument in 1909, named after the indigenous southern Paiute word, meaning straight canyon. It was later renamed Zion in 1919, a term meaning sanctuary or refuge. Summer temperatures in the canyon can exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit, while in winter, snow often covers the higher elevations. The Narrows is one of the park's most popular slot canyons, formed by the Virgin River. The canyon walls rise as high but narrow, with some sections limited to only 20 feet wide. The hike through the Narrows follows the riverbed, requiring visitors to wade or swim through sections of water, depending on seasonal conditions. Flash floods remain a natural hazard, as heavy rains can quickly fill the canyon with rushing water, and it has no escape routes in many sections. Despite the harsh conditions, hanging gardens grow along the canyon walls. Water seeps through the permeable sandstone, allowing ferns, moss and wildflowers to thrive on the rock face. The red towering cliffs and rock formations found throughout Utah's iconic landscapes are due to iron oxide, while white and yellow layers indicate ancient seabeds. The park's formations are made up of multiple layers of sandstone, each representing different environments from millions of years ago, including ancient dunes, riverbeds, and shallow seas. The park is also home to a population of desert bighorn sheep, a species adapted to the steep cliffs and rocky terrain. These animals have split, rubber-like hooves that allow them to climb near vertical surfaces in search of food and escape from predators. Males, known as rams, grow large curved horns, which they use in dominance battles during mating season. Interestingly, the rings on the horns can be used to estimate their age. Despite their intense battles, bighorn sheep rarely suffer serious head injuries since their skulls have a built-in shock absorption system, protecting their brains from the impact. Today, conservation efforts help maintain a stable population, being recovered after nearly disappearing in the early 1900s due to hunting and habitat loss. Toquerville Falls is a hidden double waterfall located on the outskirts of the park, accessible via a rugged off-road trail. The falls are formed by Kane Creek, which flows over layers of rock and creates cascading pools. The water source remains consistent throughout the year, providing an oasis in an otherwise arid environment. Great Salt Lake is the largest saltwater lake in the Western Hemisphere, covering an average area of over 1 million acres, though its size fluctuates due to evaporation and rainfall. The lake has no outlet, meaning water only leaves through evaporation, leaving behind high concentrations of salt. Some areas of the lake can reach salinity levels up to 27%, far saltier than the ocean. Located on the shores of Great Salt Lake for over a century, the Great Salt Air is a historic concert venue and pavilion. Originally built in 1893, the first Salt Air was a large resort designed as a place for recreation, featuring a massive pavilion, restaurants and a dance hall. The original structure burned down in 1925 and was rebuilt, only to be damaged by flooding in the 1930s and later abandoned. A third version was constructed in 1981, but fluctuating lake levels and economic struggles limited its use. A section of the Great Salt Lake is known for its pink-coloured water, caused by high salinity and the presence of halophilic, salt-loving microorganisms. These microorganisms are Dunaliella salina, a type of algae, and halobacteria, both of which thrive in extreme salt concentrations and create the same compounds found in carrots and flamingo feathers. The lake is naturally divided by a causeway, which restricts water flow between the north and south sections. It can reach salinity levels above 30%, making it saltier than the ocean. In fact, the extreme salt content also creates thick salt deposits along the shoreline, forming white incrustations that contrast sharply with the pink water. These salt formations have been harvested for commercial use, including road salt and mineral extraction. The Lucin cutoff is a man-made railroad causeway that crosses the Great Salt Lake, originally built to shorten travel time for trains moving across the region. The first version of the Lucin cutoff was a wooden trestle bridge, supported by more than 38,000 logs driven into the lake bed. Unfortunately, the wooden trestle required frequent maintenance due to weathering and decay. Over time, the structure weakened, and by the 1950s, it was replaced with a solid causeway made of rock and earth, cutting off most of the natural water exchange between the northern and southern sections of the lake. This barrier led to noticeable differences in the lake's salinity and colour. The northern section became much saltier and brighter in colour due to reduced freshwater inflow, while the southern section remained less salty and darker in colour with more freshwater inflow. The spiral jetty is an earthwork sculpture built by artist Robert Smithson in 1970. It extends into the lake in a counterclockwise spiral, made from over 6,000 tons of black basalt rock. For years, the jetty was submerged due to high water levels, but as the lake receded, it reappeared. When exposed, the surrounding water often takes on a pinkish hue due to salt-loving microorganisms and algae. Antelope Island is the largest island in the Great Salt Lake, known for its wildlife and hiking activities. In 1845, John C. Fremont and Kit Carson explored the island and named it after observing pronghorn antelope. The island later became a ranching site, with cattle grazing there for over a century until officially becoming a protected area today. One of the most well-known features of the island is its thriving free-roaming bison herd, first introduced in 1893 with 12 animals. Today the population ranges between 500 to 700 bison, being one of the oldest publicly managed bison populations. They can weigh over 2,000 pounds, run at speeds up to 35 miles per hour, and are known for their ability to survive harsh winters. Because there are no natural predators on the island, an annual bison roundup is held each fall to assess the health of the herd and prevent overpopulation, with some relocated or sold to ensure the island's ecosystem remains balanced. The burrowing owls are another species that thrive in the open spaces and sandy soils of the island, known for making nests underground rather than in trees. These small owls, standing around 11 inches tall, use abandoned burrows dug by prairie dogs or other small mammals for shelter. Unlike most owls, they are active during the day, often seen standing near their burrow entrances. They hunt insects, small rodents and reptiles, making them an important part of the island's ecosystem. When threatened, they mimic the sound of a rattlesnake to deter predators. Canyonlands National Park is a vast park, divided into 4 districts with dramatic canyons, mesas and rivers. The Colorado and Green Rivers played a major role in shaping the canyons over millions of years. At one point in time, explorers, ranchers and miners entered the area, drawn by its rugged landscape and mineral resources. Near the park, the Kane Creek potash mine has been in operation since the 1960s, extracting potassium chloride, a key ingredient in fertiliser. The mine uses a system of solar evaporation ponds, which create striking blue pools against the surrounding red rock terrain. Water is pumped underground to dissolve potash deposits, then brought to the surface and left to evaporate, leaving behind crystallised potassium salts. The bright blue colour comes from a dye added to speed up evaporation. Dead Horse Point State Park sits on a 2,000-foot high mesa offering wide views of the Colorado River below. According to local accounts, cowboys once used the area to corral wild mustangs, blocking off the narrow neck of the mesa with wooden fencing. In fact, its name comes from a story that some horses were left behind and died of exposure, though there is no confirmed historical record of this event. The area is also designated as an International Dark Sky Park, meaning it has minimal light pollution and is a perfect place to stargaze. The dramatic view from Dead Horse Point was used as the final scene in the 1991 movie Thelma and Louise, where the main characters drive off a cliff. False Kiva is a circular stone structure built into an alcove within Canyonlands. While its exact origins remain unclear, it is believed to have been constructed by indigenous peoples. Unlike some protected archaeological sites, False Kiva has no official status as an ancient ruin, leading to debate about its historical significance. The location has drawn interest due to its placement within the rock alcove, offering a view of the surrounding canyon landscape. Nine Mile Canyon stretches for 40 miles, despite its name suggesting otherwise, and is known for its extensive collection of rock art. Often referred to as an outdoor museum, the canyon holds one of the highest concentrations of rock art in the region, with thousands of petroglyphs and pictographs covering the canyon walls. The canyon has been a travel route for thousands of years. Indigenous peoples used it for seasonal migrations, while explorers, fur trappers, and later settlers followed the same path. In the late 19th century, it became an important supply route for ranchers and early coal mining operations. The petroglyphs in 9 Mile Canyon date back over 1,000 years, created primarily by the Fremont people and later by the Ute people. These historic carvings were made by pecking or chiselling into the dark desert varnish on sandstone rock faces, revealing the lighter rock underneath. The Fremont rock art features human-like figures, often depicted with trapezoidal bodies, elaborate headdresses, and detailed jewellery. Some panels also show bighorn sheep, hunting scenes, and geometric designs. Hundreds of years later, the Ute people carved their own rock art into the same landscape. Their petroglyphs often feature horse and rider figures, depicting hunting scenes, warriors, and ceremonial symbols, which reflects their introduction to horses following European contact. Coral Pink Sand Dunes State Park features shifting sand dunes that serve as the perfect landscape for off-roading and photography. The unique colour of the sand comes from iron oxide, which gives it a distinct pinkish-orange hue, and the dunes are estimated to be between 10,000 and 15,000 years old. The dunes are constantly shifting, with some areas moving up to 50 feet per year, causing older dunes to be partially buried, while new formations emerge. The city of Provo is located along the Wasatch Front, bordered by Utah Lake to the west. It was founded in 1849 and named after Etienne Provost, a French-Canadian trapper who explored the area in the early 19th century. The city developed as an agricultural and trade centre, benefiting from irrigation projects that supported farming. Standing on an elevated area near the base of Rock Canyon is the Provo, Utah Temple, a dedicated temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, otherwise famously known as the LDS Church. It was designed in a modern architectural style, made from white cast stone, while featuring a circular base and a single spire rising from the centre. It has consistently been one of the busiest temples in the region due to its location near Brigham Young University, a well-known religious educational institution also sponsored by the LDS Church. Additionally, due to its proximity to the Missionary Training Centre in Provo, the temple has been used by thousands of missionaries preparing for assignments worldwide. The Provo City Centre Temple was originally built as the Provo Tabernacle in 1898, but was then heavily damaged by a fire in 2010. The fire destroyed much of the interior, but left the outer brick walls intact, so the structure was converted into a temple instead of getting demolished. The temple features Victorian Gothic architecture, with stained glass windows, spires, and intricate woodwork. Provo Peak rises to an elevation of 11,068 feet, making it one of the highest summits in the Wasatch Range. The peak is steep and rugged, with no developed trails leading directly to the summit. The hike requires navigating loose rock and steep inclines, making it a challenge for climbers. Snow covers the peak for much of the year, feeding into streams and tributaries that flow into the valley below. Following the Provo River as it cuts through the Wasatch Mountains is the Provo Canyon, formed by glacial movement and river erosion, creating vertical rock walls and winding river channels. It has historically served as an important travel route for indigenous clans, fur trappers, pioneers, and modern travellers. However, due to its steep cliffs and loose rock, Provo Canyon experiences occasional rock slides and avalanches, especially during the spring thaw. Certain sections of US Highway 189, which runs through the canyon, have been reinforced to prevent damage from falling debris. Bridal Veil Falls is a two-tiered waterfall located within Provo Canyon. The falls are fed by mountain springs and snowmelt, creating a steady flow throughout most of the year. During winter, the falls freeze into large ice formations, attracting climbers who scale the frozen surface. In the mid-20th century, a tram system was built alongside the falls, carrying visitors to a restaurant and lodge at the top, though it was later destroyed in an avalanche. The San Rafael Swell is a rugged geological feature formed by an anticline uplift, where underground forces pushed rock layers upward, creating a massive dome-like structure. It contains numerous slot canyons, formed by flash floods over thousands of years. These narrow canyons, often just a few inches wide but dropping tens of feet deep, create twisting passageways through the rock. Because of their constantly changing formations, the slot canyons serve as natural geological laboratories, allowing scientists to study erosion and sediment transport in real time as they continue to evolve. The area remains one of the least developed regions in the area, with few paved roads and limited infrastructure. The Bentonite hills are known for their rolling, multicoloured terrain, created by layers of clay-rich sediment. The hills display shades of red, purple, blue, grey and green, formed by minerals reacting with water and oxygen over time. The main component of the hills, bentonite clay, comes from ancient volcanic ash that settled and transformed through chemical processes. The soft clay absorbs water quickly, becoming extremely slippery when wet. This property causes the hills to change in texture and appearance after rainfall, making them difficult to navigate. The Mars Desert Research Station, MDRS, is located near the Bentonite Hills and serves as a training and research facility for scientists studying space exploration. The landscape around the station resembles Mars-like conditions, with its dry conditions, clay-rich soil, and rolling hills similar to those seen in satellite images of the Martian surface. Since its establishment in 2001, MDRS has hosted astronaut training simulations, geological studies, and technology testing for future Mars missions. Researchers live in the station for weeks at a time, operating under conditions that mimic space travel, including limited resources and communication delays. House on Fire is an ancestral Puebloan ruin built into a sandstone alcove with a history of over 700 years. It was once used as a granary, or dwelling by the ancestral Puebloans, commonly referred to as the Anasazi. The name comes from the way the rock above the ruin appears to glow in certain lighting conditions, resembling flames rising from the structure. The ruin consists of multiple small rooms, held together with a mud-based mortar, as the placement under the alcove provided natural protection from the elements. Fantasy Canyon is known for its unusual and delicate rock formations, composed of fine-grained sandstone deposited approximately 50 million years ago when the region was covered by a vast lake system. Many formations have been given names based on their shapes, including the Teapot and Alien Head. These structures are extremely fragile, with some collapsing over time due to natural weathering. They also contain high amounts of iron, which gives them a dark brown or reddish colour. The area has also yielded fossilised fish and plant remains, providing evidence of ancient ecosystems that once thrived in the region. Quail Creek State Park is centred around Quail Creek Reservoir, a body of water created by the Quail Creek Dam, completed in 1985. The reservoir was built to provide irrigation and drinking water to nearby communities, storing water from the Virgin River. The lake's depth can reach up to 120 feet, making it one of the deepest reservoirs in the region. The area is known for its contrasting landscapes, with red sandstone cliffs surrounding the lake and mountain ranges visible in the distance. The Wasatch Mountains stretch for over 160 miles, forming the western edge of the Rocky Mountain region. The range includes dozens of peaks over 11,000 feet, shaped by tectonic uplift and glacial activity over millions of years. The mountains act as a climatic barrier, causing increased precipitation on the western slopes while leaving valleys to the east much drier. They also contain some of the highest snowfall totals in the region, with over 40 feet of snow annually in some areas. This has made the Wasatch Mountains a major centre for skiing and winter sports, with several resorts developed along the range. The combination of steep terrain and dry, powdery snow has led to the claim of having the greatest snow on Earth. Mount Timpanogos is the second highest peak in the Wasatch Range, standing at 11,753 feet. Local legends tell of a ghostly figure appearing on the mountain, inspired by indigenous stories of a woman who waited for her lost warrior. Due to this, the mountain silhouette is sometimes said to resemble a sleeping figure. Hikers attempt the 9-mile ascent to the summit, which offers views of the surrounding valleys and peaks. Near its base is the Mount Timpanogos Utah Temple, a modern religious structure made of white granite. Completed in 1996, it features a 6-story tower topped with a gold-leafed statue. Surrounding the temple are landscaped gardens and fountains, maintained year-round. Kyhv Peak, formerly known as Squaw Peak, is accessed by a winding road and hiking trails, with steep drop-offs and sharp turns leading to the summit. Its name was changed to reflect indigenous cultural connections to the mountain, recognising its historical significance as part of a larger network of travel routes and gathering sites. Paragliders and hang gliders also use the peak as a launch point, taking advantage of strong updrafts along the cliffs. The Homestead Crater is a geothermal hot spring formed inside a limestone dome filled with mineral-rich water from deep, underground deposited layers of rock. The hot spring inside the crater maintains a temperature of 96 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, making it one of the only warm water diving sites in the region. The water reaches a depth of 65 feet, with clear visibility, allowing for scuba diving and snorkeling. Utah Lake is the largest freshwater lake in the region, covering a maximum width of 13 miles and an average depth of 10.5 feet. The lake is a remnant of ancient Lake Bonneville, which once covered much of the area during the Ice Age. Over time, water levels receded, leaving behind Utah Lake and the Great Salt Lake. The lake is fed by multiple rivers and streams, with the Provo River being the largest inflow. Indigenous groups relied on it as a food source, catching fish and using the surrounding wetlands for hunting, while early settlers later used the lake for irrigation, transportation, and recreation. Located along the northwest shore of Utah Lake is Saratoga Spring, a natural geothermal spring. The warm water continues to flow year-round, maintaining a steady temperature, even in winter, as modern development surrounds the site today. Dinosaur National Monument is known for its massive fossil deposits, where thousands of dinosaur bones remain embedded in rock. The discovery of the quarry in 1909 by paleontologist Earl Douglas led to extensive excavations, with numerous fossils shipped to institutions worldwide. The fossils date back 150 million years to the Jurassic period, when the region was part of a river system that supported large plant-eating and carnivorous dinosaurs. Today, many of these fossils are housed in museums, while others remain exposed in the rock face for study. Goblin Valley State Park is known for its unusual rock formations that resemble small, squat figures, often compared to goblins. In the early 20th century, cowboys exploring the region reported the strange formations, but the area remained largely unknown until a few decades later, when it was officially documented. The valley became a protected park in 1964, preserving its unique geological landscape. In 1999, scenes from Galaxy Quest were filmed in the park, using the terrain to depict an alien world. The rock formations in Goblin Valley are classified as hoodoos, which are tall, thin spires of rock with a larger capstone on top. The formations range in height from a few inches to over 20 feet and are scattered throughout the valley. Hoodoos form when harder rock sits above softer sandstone, allowing the pillars to maintain their shape for thousands of years. Without the capstones, the softer rock would erode much faster, eventually reducing the hoodoos to small mounds. Factory Butte is a dramatic, isolated mesa with a flat summit and steep slopes. The butte is composed of Mancos shale, a greyish, clay-rich rock that formed when the area was covered by an ancient sea. The soft Mancos shale breaks down easily, forming deep gullies and exposed ridges. Its name dates back to the late 1800s, given by early settlers who thought the formation resembled a large factory building. Unlike other mesas and cliffs in the region, the Butte's steep slopes lack vegetation, giving it a stark, otherworldly appearance. Factory Butte has long been an area for off-highway vehicle (OHV) riding, drawing riders to its open terrain. Due to concerns about soil erosion and the impact on native plants, restrictions were placed on OHV access in 2006, though designated riding areas remain open. South Jordan is located in a valley, bordered by the Jordan River to the east. The city was first settled in 1859, with early settlers relying on farming, irrigation, and livestock. The Jordan River provided a key water source and canals were built to support agriculture. The city developed around farming communities, but by the 20th century, South Jordan transitioned from an agricultural town to a growing suburban centre when populations increased. On the western side of the city is the Oquirrh Mountain Utah Temple, notably made of granite quarried from China. Completed in 2009, it was the first temple built in the region west of the Jordan River, with the construction process taking over 2 years. The structure reaches a height of 183 feet, including the spire, which is topped with a gold-leafed statue. The temple's location provides a view of the Wahweap Mountains, named after a word from the Goshute language meaning wooded mountain. Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument is a rugged wilderness area with slot canyons, cliffs, and ancient fossils. It is known for its extensive fossil beds, which have produced fossils of dinosaurs, prehistoric fish, and ancient plant species. The monument's grand staircase consists of 5 massive rock layers, each representing different geological time periods, ranging from the Triassic to the Cretaceous period. Its surrounding area has some of the least light pollution in North America, making it one of the best places for stargazing and astronomical research. Lower Kyhv Creek Falls is a 126-foot waterfall that flows year-round, fed by Kyhv Creek. The pool at the base of the waterfall remains cold even in summer, due to continuous water flow. Peekaboo Slot Canyon is a narrow, winding canyon with sandstone walls as small as 16 inches wide. The canyon floor contains carved-out potholes created by flash floods that continue to shape the canyon over time. During flash floods, water rushes through the slot canyon, eroding rock and deepening the narrow channels. Devil's Garden is an area filled with hoodoos, arches, and rock formations made of Entrada sandstone. It remains relatively stable compared to other eroded landscapes, as the harder capstone layers protect the softer sandstone beneath. The Cosmic Ashtray, also known as the Red Break Sinkhole, is a large circular depression surrounded by a raised sandstone rim. The remote crater measures around 100 yards in diameter and contains a central sand dune, which shifts with the wind. The sand within the depression constantly shifts, creating changing patterns on the surface depending on wind direction and speed. Bingham Canyon Mine is one of the largest open-pit copper mines in the world, producing copper, gold, silver, and molybdenum that proceed to be extracted each year. The mine was first identified as a valuable mineral deposit in the 1860s, but large-scale mining did not begin until 1906, making it one of the longest continuously operating mines. The introduction of steam shovels and rail systems allowed for efficient extraction, transforming the site into a major mining operation. By 1925, the mine was producing 1/3 of the copper used in the country. However, in 2013, a massive landslide moved nearly 165 million tons of rock in one of the largest non-volcanic landslides ever recorded. Despite setbacks, production resumed, and the mine continues to operate with enhanced monitoring systems. Lyman Lake sits at an elevation of over 10,000 feet, making it one of the highest natural lakes in the region. Situated in the Boulder Mountain area, it was formed by glacial activity during the last ice age, with retreating ice carving out the basin that now holds the lake. The lake remains partially frozen for much of the year due to its high altitude. It was named after Elias Lyman, an early explorer and surveyor in the area. Gunlock State Park is centred around Gunlock Reservoir, created by the construction of the dam with the same name in 1970. The reservoir serves as a water storage facility for irrigation and local use, such as boating, fishing, and even swimming. It was named after William Haynes Gunlock, a 19th century pioneer who settled in the area. Gunlock Falls appears only in years when heavy rainfall and snowmelt cause the reservoir to overflow, sending water cascading over the red sandstone ledges below the dam. The falls can last for several weeks, depending on water levels, before drying up when runoff decreases. The waterfalls form tiered cascades, with water spilling over layers of rock, creating natural pools. The force of the water continues to reshape the sandstone, smoothing the rock and deepening pools over time. Capitol Reef National Park is characterised by the water pocket fold, historic orchards, and impressive rock formations. The Fremont people lived in the region for over 1,000 years, leaving behind petroglyphs, granaries, and artefacts, providing evidence of farming and seasonal migrations. Later in the late 1800s, settlers established small communities, growing orchards along the Fremont River. Its unique rock layers preserve fossils of ancient marine life, dinosaur tracks, and plant remains from the Triassic and Jurassic periods. Cathedral Valley is a remote section of the park where it remains largely unchanged due to its isolated location and limited development. It is notably full of towering monoliths like the Temple of the Sun and Moon. The Temple of the Moon and the Temple of the Sun are towering sandstone formations rising from the desert floor. The Temple of the Sun stands over 400 feet tall, while the Temple of the Moon is slightly smaller. Early explorers named these structures for their cathedral-like appearance, and they remain some of the most well-known landmarks in Cathedral Valley. Then there are the Bentonite Hills, located near Cathedral Valley. They are made of soft, clay-rich sediment that swells when wet, causing them to be highly fragile. The hills contain layers of red, purple, blue and green clay, giving them a distinct, multicoloured appearance. They were formed from volcanic ash deposits and later compacted into bentonite clay, which expands and contracts with moisture. The Blue Gate Shale member was deposited over 90 million years ago when a vast inland sea, known as the Western Interior Seaway, covered the region. This sea stretched from the Arctic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico, dividing the continent into two land masses. This marine environment left behind fossils of ammonites, bivalves, and marine reptiles, providing evidence of life during the Cretaceous period. It gets its blue-grey colour from the high concentration of clay minerals and organic matter, which settled at the bottom of the ancient sea in low oxygen conditions. The Great Basin Desert spans over 190,000 square miles, making it the largest cold desert in North America. Unlike hot deserts, which experience extreme heat year-round, the Great Basin Desert has hot summers and cold winters, with temperatures dropping below freezing in winter and exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit in summer. It is classified as a cold desert because most of its moisture comes from snowmelt rather than summer rainfall. The desert is part of the Basin and Range Province, a geological region characterized by alternating mountain ranges and valleys created by tectonic stretching. The sun tunnels are a large-scale land art installation, built in 1976 by artist Nancy Holt, consisting of 4 massive concrete tunnels. Each tunnel has small holes drilled into its surface, arranged in patterns that correspond to constellations, including Draco, Capricorn, Perseus, and Columba. The Great Basin collared lizard is one of the most recognisable reptiles in the desert, named for the two black bands around its neck that resemble a collar. Unlike many lizards that rely on short bursts of movement, the collared lizard is known for its bipedal running, meaning it can lift its front legs and sprint on its hind legs when escaping predators. In fact, it is one of the fastest lizards in the region, reaching speeds of over 35 miles per hour. During cold months, the collared lizard enters a state of brumation, a form of hibernation where it remains inactive in underground burrows to survive freezing temperatures. Bryce Canyon National Park covers 56 square miles and is known for its unique rock formations, high elevation plateaus, and red rock spires. Despite its name, Bryce Canyon is not a canyon, but a series of natural amphitheatres formed along the eastern edge of the Penobscot Plateau. Designated as a national park in 1928, the park's elevation ranges from 6,600 to 9,100 feet, making it one of the highest national parks in the region. The area experiences over 200 freeze-thaw cycles per year, which cause water to seep into cracks, freeze and expand, gradually breaking apart the rock and shaping the landscape. Early indigenous groups, including the Kyhv people, lived in the area and passed down oral histories, describing the strange rock formations as legend people, turned to stone by the trickster god Coyote. European settlers arrived in the mid-19th century, and the park was named after Ebenezer Bryce, a homesteader who built a road into the canyon for logging. The park is notably home to thousands of hoodoos, with specific areas named according to their physical traits, such as the Cathedral, which is a cluster of towering hoodoos that resemble the spires of a Gothic church. Then there is the iconic Bryce Amphitheatre, the largest and most well-known amphitheatre in the park, stretching 12 miles wide and 800 feet deep. It contains the highest concentration of hoodoos in Bryce Canyon and changes colour throughout the day, with orange, red and white hues. Another one of the most recognisable hoodoos in the park is Thor's Hammer, which consists of a large, blocky caprock balanced on a thin rock pedestal. The capstone is made of a harder rock layer, while the lower portion erodes faster, creating a distinctive hammer shape. The park contains some wildlife as well, such as the mule deer, which are one of the most common large mammals in the state, often seen at dawn and dusk when they are most active. They are named for their large mule-like ears, which help them detect predators. Interestingly, males grow branched antlers that are shed and regrow each year. In summer, they graze on grasses, shrubs and wildflowers, while in winter, they migrate to lower elevations to find food, as their thick fur helps insulate them against cold temperatures and heavy snowfall. Coyotes, mountain lions, and bobcats are natural predators of mule deer, but human activity and habitat loss have also affected their populations. Conservation efforts in the park focus on protecting migration routes and maintaining healthy ecosystems to support deer and other wildlife. As the capital of Utah and its largest city, Salt Lake City was founded in 1847 by pioneers who arrived in the Salt Lake Valley seeking a place to establish a self-sustaining community. The area was chosen for its proximity to fresh water, fertile soil, and natural barriers. The city was designed with a grid system, featuring wide streets measuring 132 feet across, a design intended to accommodate ox carts and wagons. Early settlers built irrigation canals to support agriculture, and the region quickly became a hub for trade, mining, and later transportation, with the arrival of the first transcontinental railroad in 1869. It notably hosted the 2002 Winter Olympics, an event that led to infrastructure improvements and an expansion of its ski industry. The city is also home to one of the largest saltwater lakes in the Western Hemisphere, which influences local weather patterns and creates lake-effect snowfall, contributing to its reputation for world-class skiing. Temple Square covers 10 acres in the centre of Salt Lake City and is home to the Salt Lake Temple, Tabernacle, and several other historic buildings. The Salt Lake Temple, built between 1853 and 1893, features 6 spires and granite walls that stand 210 feet tall. The temple's foundation was originally made of quartz sandstone, but it was later replaced with granite from Little Cottonwood Canyon, located 20 miles away. The Salt Lake Tabernacle, completed in 1867, is known for its unique acoustic properties and massive pipe organ, which contains 11,623 pipes. The structure's domed roof was constructed without nails, using a lattice-like framework to support its shape. The Tabernacle hosts performances by the Tabernacle Choir, which has gained international recognition. The Utah State Capitol sits atop Capitol Hill, overlooking the city as it houses the state government. Completed in 1916, the building features a 285-foot-high dome, Corinthian columns, and a design inspired by classical Greek and Roman architecture. The exterior is made of Utah granite, sourced from the same quarry used for the Salt Lake Temple. The Capitol grounds feature cherry trees that bloom each spring, planted to commemorate Utah's admission to statehood in 1896. The Cathedral of the Madeleine, completed in 1909, is known for its Romanesque and Gothic architectural styles. The exterior is built from local sandstone, featuring twin bell towers, pointed arches, stained glass windows, and carved stone details. The Cathedral Choir School, established in 1996, provides music education and has gained national recognition. It hosts regular concerts, including performances by the Madeleine Choir, known for its traditional choral music. Sand Hollow Island is located within Sand Hollow Reservoir, a small man-made lake known for its clear water, red sandstone shoreline, and sand dunes. The island, formed as part of the reservoir's construction, sits in the middle of the lake and is surrounded by deep blue waters. The reservoir was completed in 2002 as a water storage facility, providing irrigation and drinking water for nearby communities. The island itself was originally a high point of land before the area was flooded, leaving it as an isolated feature within the lake. Flaming Gorge National Recreation Area is named after the red and orange cliffs that reflect the light at sunrise and sunset. The region was carved by the Green River, which continues to shape the landscape through the erosion. The gorge is part of the Uinta Mountains, an ancient mountain range composed of Precambrian rock over 1 billion years old that preserves fossils from prehistoric marine environments. Flaming Gorge Reservoir was created with the completion of Flaming Gorge Dam in 1964, a 502-foot tall concrete structure that holds back the Green River. The reservoir contains over 3.8 million acre-feet of water, making it one of the largest reservoirs in the region. It provides hydroelectric power, irrigation, and water storage, while also serving as a major recreational destination, offering boating, fishing, and camping opportunities. The gorge supports one of the largest populations of osprey in the region, as they build large stick nests on cliff ledges, dead trees, and man-made platforms along the reservoir. These are large birds of prey known for their ability to dive feet first into the water to catch fish, using their sharp talons and reversible outer toes to secure their catch. The nesting season lasts from April to September, with pairs returning to the same nesting sites year after year. They then migrate thousands of miles each year, with many travelling to Central and South America during the winter, as they are able to adapt to both freshwater and coastal environments. Kodachrome Basin State Park contains over 60 sedimentary rock columns, known as sand pipes, ranging from 6 to 170 feet tall. These formations are believed to be the result of ancient geysers that were filled with sediment and hardened over time. The park was named in 1948 after the Kodachrome film brand, used by a National Geographic expedition team to capture the park's landscape. The name was chosen due to the intense red, orange and white hues of the sandstone formations, which change in appearance depending on the angle of the sunlight. The park contains evidence of prehistoric life, with fossilised dinosaur tracks, plant imprints, and the marine fossils found within its rock layers. Outdoor activities in the park include hiking, horseback riding, and photography, with trails leading through narrow canyons, open deserts, and rock amphitheatres. Every year, tens of thousands of snow geese migrate through Gunnison Bend Reservoir during their spring migration from February to March. The reservoir serves as a major stopover point for these birds as they travel from wintering grounds in the southern US and Mexico to their breeding areas in Canada and the Arctic tundra. Snow geese are known for their striking white plumage, black-tipped wings, and loud honking calls, though some display a darker, bluish-grey colour known as the blue morph, which is a genetic variation. At Gunnison Bend, they feed on aquatic plants, grains, and leftover crops from nearby fields, refueling for the next leg of their journey. Their presence also attracts eagles, hawks, and other predatory birds that take advantage of the high concentration of waterfowl. The migration of snow geese has been documented for centuries, with indigenous groups and early explorers noting the massive seasonal movements of these birds. In modern times, wildlife biologists track their migration routes using GPS tagging and aerial surveys to monitor population trends and environmental changes affecting their habitats. Located on the Utah-Arizona border, Monument Valley Navajo Tribal Park is a stunning area composed of iconic red rock formations, such as the Mexican Hat Rock, named for its resemblance to an upside-down sombrero. The area has been home to the Navajo Nation for centuries, with evidence of earlier ancestral Puebloan settlements from over 1,000 years. However, in the 1860s, conflict arose between the Navajo and the US government, leading to the Long Walk of 1864, when thousands of Navajo were forcibly removed from their land and marched over 300 miles to a reservation in New Mexico. They were eventually allowed to return, and the land that includes Monument Valley became part of the Navajo Nation, which remains the largest indigenous territory in the US. The Navajo people continue to live in the region, maintaining cultural traditions, language, and historical sites. The valley also became widely recognised through Hollywood films, television shows, and advertisements such as Forrest Gump and 2001: A Space Odyssey. This is Utah, a land of hidden wonders and remarkable architectural marvels. Now, if you don't want to miss the most unreal wonders of Tunisia, check out this video.